Everyone told you that needing people is strength, that community is everything, that a man who walks alone is broken, lost, or damaged. And somewhere along the way, you believed them. You shrunk yourself to fit into rooms that were never built for you. You laughed at jokes that weren't funny. You stayed in circles that were slowly draining the life out of who you were becoming. And the most dangerous part? You called that belonging. But here's the contradiction no one warns you about. The moment you start truly growing, the moment you start choosing discipline over comfort, silence over noise, and purpose over approval, people don't celebrate you. They get uncomfortable. They go quiet. And then slowly they disappear. And that disappearance? That's not abandonment. That's selection. The question is, are you strong enough to let it happen? Because what comes next in this video is the realization that will either break you open or set you completely free. Stay with me, because most men never make it this far. Marcus Aurelius ruled an empire and still chose to spend his mornings alone, writing to himself, sharpening his mind in silence before the world could pull him into its chaos. Nikola Tesla worked in isolation for decades, dismissed as eccentric, misunderstood by the masses, and yet he lit up the entire world. Friedrich Nietzsche wrote his most transformative philosophy not in crowded halls, but in long solitary walks through the mountains, where no one could reach him. These weren't broken men. These were architects of inner worlds, so powerful that the outer world couldn't contain them. Solitude is not loneliness. Read that again. Loneliness is a wound. It's the ache of wanting people who don't show up. Solitude is a weapon. It's the deliberate choice to sit with yourself long, enough to become someone worth being. Can you feel the difference? When you are alone in silence, something ancient activates inside you. Your mind stops performing. Your identity stops bending. The noise of other people's opinions fades, and what's left, raw, unfiltered, honest, is you. Your real thoughts. Your real desires. Your real war. Most people are terrified of that silence because it forces them to confront what they've been running from. But you're going to sit in it. You're going to breathe it. Because silence is where your real self is built. And this next part reveals exactly how that building begins. Here is something nobody tells you about growth. It is inherently isolating. Not because you become cold or arrogant, but because the version of you that's evolving no longer speaks the same language as the version of you that was standing still. And that gap, that silent, growing distance between who you were and who you're becoming, that gap is where relationships crack. The people who knew your old self will resist your new one. Not always with words, sometimes with subtle guilt, sometimes with sarcasm disguised as jokes, sometimes just with silence and slow disappearance. And your instinct will be to go back, to soften yourself, to shrink, to make them comfortable again. That is the test. And most men fail it. Because the truth is, you cannot fully evolve and still fit into spaces that were designed for a smaller version of you. Eagles don't nest with pigeons. Not because eagles are better, but because their nature demands different altitude. You are not abandoning people. You are answering a calling that most people will never hear. And that calling is uncomfortable. It costs you. It demands sacrifice that goes beyond money or time. It demands the sacrifice of who you used to be. But here's what waits on the other side of that sacrifice. Something most men spend their entire lives searching for and never find. Keep watching. There is a kind of peace that no relationship can give you. No validation, no applause, no likes, no late-night conversations can manufacture it. It lives deeper than all of that, in the quiet space between who you pretended to be and who you actually are. When you stop outsourcing your emotional state to other people, something extraordinary happens. You stop reacting. You start responding. The world loses its grip on your nervous system. Someone disrespects you, and you don't explode, you observe. Something falls apart, and instead of collapsing, you recalibrate. You become, slowly and powerfully, unmovable. Picture a mountain during a storm. The rain comes. The wind howls. But the mountain doesn't negotiate with the weather. It simply stands. That is the energy you are building when you learn to generate your own peace. This is not numbness. This is not emotional shutdown. This is the highest form of emotional intelligence, the ability to feel everything fully and still choose your response. It's the difference between a man who is controlled by life and a man who moves through life like a force of nature. And it starts the moment you stop needing the world to behave a certain way before you allow yourself to feel okay. Now let's talk about the thing that actually builds this man. Not motivation. Motivation is a mood. It comes when things feel exciting and disappears the moment reality gets heavy. Every man who has ever waited to feel motivated before taking action has built nothing, felt everything, done nothing. Discipline is different. Discipline is the decision you make before the feeling arrives. It's waking up when the bed is warm and the world is dark and the voice inside your head gives you 100 reasons to stay, and getting up anyway. Not because it feels good, it won't, because you decided. And your decisions are more powerful than your feelings. This is masculine energy in its purest form. Not aggression, not dominance over others, dominance over self. The ability to look at your own comfort, your own fear, your own weakness, and choose the harder path every single time, without needing a crowd to cheer you forward. Every day you choose discipline, you are sending a message to your own nervous system. You are telling your subconscious, I am the kind of man who follows through. And slowly, brick by brick, that identity becomes unshakable. You stop being the man who wants to change. You become the man who simply is different. Your silence becomes strategic. Your work becomes sacred. Your absence from meaningless social noise becomes your loudest statement. While average men are performing their lives on every screen available, you are building something in the dark that the light will eventually reveal. And this next part, this is where the real shift happens. Because the battle has barely started. Stop for a second. If you've made it this far into this video, you are not the average viewer. You feel something in these words because they reflect something already alive inside you, something that has been waiting for permission to exist fully. What comes next will either confirm your path or completely rewrite how you understand struggle, pain, and what you're actually becoming through all of it. Every storm you have survived was preparing you for a version of yourself that calm weather never could have built. Think about that. The betrayal that broke your trust, it stripped away naivety and installed discernment. The loneliness that felt unbearable, it forced you into your own company and made you someone worth spending time with. Pain is not punishment. Pain is a forge. And you are not a victim of your suffering. You are being shaped by it, if you choose to let it work on you rather than destroy you. The difference between men who are broken by hardship and men who are built by it is not talent. It is not luck. It is the philosophical framework through which they interpret what happens to them. One man sees loss and crumbles. Another sees loss and excavates. He digs through the wreckage and pulls out the lesson. And that lesson becomes armor. You have been through fire. And the question is not whether you survived it. Clearly you did. The question is what you chose to become inside it. Because the strongest version of you was not born in comfort. He was forged in exactly the moments you most wanted to escape. And he is not finished being made. There is a particular kind of victory that tastes different from all others. It's the win that nobody witnessed. The goal you hit at midnight with no one watching. The transformation you built through months of private sacrifice that the world only sees the result of, never the process. That win belongs entirely to you. No one can take credit for it. No one can diminish it. No one can rewrite the story, because they weren't there for the chapters that mattered. This is what it means to win alone. Not isolated from humanity, but independent of its approval. You are not waiting for the world to validate your worth. You already know it. You built it, daily, in silence, through choices that cost you something real. Self-reliance is the deepest form of confidence a man can carry. Not the loud, performative kind, the quiet, immovable kind. The kind that doesn't need to announce itself, because it already showed up, and the results speak in a language louder than words ever could. The enemy was never outside you. It was never the people who doubted you, the circumstances that tried to break you, or the world that seemed designed to hold you back. The real enemy is the version of you that wants to give up. The voice that whispers you're not ready. The impulse that reaches for distraction when silence demands action. Mental mastery is not the absence of that voice. It is the refusal to obey it. Win that war, the one happening right now, inside your own mind, and every external battle becomes manageable. You are not building a body. You are building a king. And that work starts in the dark, alone right now. If this hits something real inside you, comment "I walk alone" below. Let me know you're on this path. And subscribe if you're building in silence.